what do you have to do? And Coach Lubick just told us, hey, it's not all on Dakota. He's being a little hard on himself. But as a quarterback, what can you do to get into that tempo a little quicker?
I think, just deciding when it's appropriate to, the thing that I felt I slowed us down with in the game was, making, I got over analytical at the line of scrimmage, making sure protections were picked up. So a big thing is, deciding, hey, do we go with tempo here or do we go with trying to get the perfect protection? Because tempo can make up for, a lot of things. And so I think definitely it was one thing because it wasn't tempo every play. We'd get a couple fast off and then a slow one, get a couple fast and a slow. And so if we can get into a rhythm, so that's one thing I think really focusing on this game is just get into a rhythm of tempo. That's when do we see something right away protection wise? If not, let's just go. So just kind of I guess really just getting in a rhythm.
You talk about protections a lot. In fact, I think at the beginning of camp you were talking about how you have more responsibility in that area than you did at Montana State. Now that you've played a game, how is that responsibility different for you? It's all on you, essentially?
No, it's not all on me. It's a joint effort between myself and the offensive line. But it's tough. But I think after that first game, really seeing how it is, and the first game is tough too because the defense isn't exactly what you've been studying because it's all from a season ago.
Right.
So they were bringing similar looks to what we were expecting, but it was kind of out of different, I guess you could say, defensive formations, like how they were aligning to their blitz, and so that's took a little while to catch on. But I'm excited to see how it works out in game 2. Just being used to everything. The way we've set up our protections this week is going to be really beneficial for tempo. So.
Is it changing based on the personnel?
Yeah, no, it's not as much changing. Just like our rules, we've kind of simplified it, which I think will allow us to go a little faster.
Virginia defensively, what do these guys bring to the field?
It's a weird defense in terms of the front and how they do things. Another thing, I think we've just they do a lot of stuff, and the whole philosophy of this defense, in my opinion, is the way they align to things. They can bring pressure at all times from anywhere, and not really give it away. And so, yeah, same deal. We've kind of simplified it for ourselves, made it easy. I think that'll allow us to go fast and pick up what we need to pick up, and that just every once in a while we might have a free blitzer coming, but if we follow the rules, then he'll be in my face, and I'll have hot routes and access routes to answer for that. So
you talked about improvement coming, biggest improvement game 1 to game 2. I think that's true of most teams. I think they would say that. Where do you expect that improvement to come in week 2?
One thing I'd really like to see on film of game 2 is just quick and decisive checks at the line of scrimmage for protections, because if you go look at game 1 film, anytime we made the correct protection check, it was a big play, and that's where the couple of touchdowns came from. There was all correct protection checks, and so I really want to see that on film of game 2, and then just there's so much, every facet of your game really improves from game 1 to game 2. So, but in specific, that's what I would like to really see.
What's your comfort level? We talked about the playbook, and I think you say you're pretty comfortable with the playbook. Yeah. But as far as the signals, getting the calls in from the sideline, is that second nature to you by now, or is there
second
just
nature?
To slow down?
No, it is second nature. We had a slight change up in signalers, and so that took a little bit of adjusting, but it didn't affect anything in the game. But extremely comfortable with the signals. We have a bunch of dudes that can do that. So
when did that happen? Within the game, or you mean for practice?
It was in a couple of days. Last week.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's no big deal.
Have you started developing some chemistry with Johnny? I know you guys live together. Does that do anything for that?
Yeah. I don't. I guess in terms of going off the question, by living together, I think it actually kind of does. In a sense, when I'm throwing to Johnny, and this isn't taken away from anyone else, but I know I could throw the worst ball in the world or do something terrible, and he wouldn't care. It's just kind of yeah, well, whatever. He's not going to get mad at me. He's not going to get frustrated or anything. Not that any other guys do, but, I feel extremely, extremely comfortable throwing the ball. But, yeah, so, yeah.
And then just how is that? This is a pretty deep tight end core that people have been banged up at various times. How interchangeable are those guys in those positions, just from a strict offensive standpoint of throwing the ball to them?
Yeah, tight end's an extremely important position in this offense. Yeah, we have been banged up at times. We are a little banged up, but Coach Oz and Coach Great will always figure that out. But that's one good thing about having some depth. So.
Johnny had more receiving yards on Saturday than he had almost like the last 2 years combined. What was that like when you guys went home?
Oh, well, I was. That first touchdown I threw to him was one of my favorite touchdowns I've ever thrown.
Why?
Because, it was the first touchdown in Autzen. It was also to Johnny. And I realized I threw it to him, and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? And I loved that. That was really cool. So.
What's your favorite ever touchdown?
My favorite ever was the game winner, Sacramento State to Mitchell Herbert. Yeah, it was 6 seconds left to go. Threw him a fade route to win it. So that was my favorite.
Dakota, Coach was saying that he grades every single play and several aspects of every single play. What was his feedback to you based on his review of the film from last game?
Oh man, I can't remember. That was last week. I've put it in the past. I mean, it's very nitty gritty. In terms of footwork. Did you throw the right ball? Were you in the right place? There's so much that goes into each play, but I can't even really specifically. I've kind of moved on and just getting ready for.
What was the review helpful? I mean, that going through that stuff with him.
Reviews are always really helpful, but it's funny. We actually kind of review throughout the game. So after each series, I'll go to the sideline and he's up in the box, and I hop on the phone with him real quick, and we go back through and review. And that's super helpful. So,
You literally look at every play with him.